Hey everyone, thanks for clicking on this video. Today we are going to learn how to do some arm rolls. Arm rolls in the contact juggling sense. Contact juggling is a form of juggling when you stay in contact with what you're juggling. It's like a mixture of dance, juggling, and magic or illusion. It's a fantastic way to get exercise, it's a very fun hobby, and it's a beautiful performance art as well. Now sometimes, admittedly, contact juggling can be a little bit frustrating when things don't quite go your way. But that's the point of my playlist here on my channel for contact juggling. So if you are new to my channel, I highly recommend you go to my playlist section and click on my Circus and Flow Arts Basics link or my contact juggling tutorials in order to pick up some other techniques that may or may not help you in the practice of learning arm rolls here today. There's a number of different approaches to learning arm rolls, and there's always another teacher out there that has an idea of how you can do something better. But I'm going to give you the ones that worked out best for me, and I encourage you to check out other instructional videos out there in order to perfect your practice. But before we go any further, a little word on safety. If you're practicing anything you learn here on my channel, or anything you learn new anywhere else, it's a very good idea to take any and all necessary safety precautions. So be aware of your surroundings, make sure that you're putting nothing at risk of destroying it. These contact juggling balls, whether they're acrylic, glass, or even those stage balls, they can all be damaging to your personal property or even your pets or your loved ones. So when you're practicing this stuff, make sure you look ahead a couple steps and make sure there's nothing around you that could potentially be at risk of being damaged by these things. Everyone makes mistakes, and if you're not dropping it, you're not practicing hard enough, is what I say. When you're practicing arm rolls, I would make sure there's nothing within 6 feet in front of you or to the sides or even to the back and behind you for good measure. And for best results, be as close to the floor as you possibly can. You're gonna drop, and you're gonna drop a lot when you're first starting this stuff, and that's okay. That's part of the practice. If you're not dropping it every once in a while, you're probably not practicing hard enough, and you're probably not trying hard enough too. On the other hand, if you're not dropping at all and you're picking this stuff up really quick, good for you, you're a natural. But for most of us out here, it's gonna be a process of dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping some more. So it's best not to let the drops bother you. Make sure you make every attempt into an experiment. Meaning, once you try to do something, observe it as it actually is and take your emotions out of it. Don't get upset if it doesn't quite do what you want it to do, but pay attention to what happens on its own when you're doing these things and look at the result. And when you take the result in consideration, then make micro adjustments until you get the result that you desire. Now when it comes to learning arm rolls and everything else that you might learn here on my channel, there's a number of different schools of thought on what the ideal way is to learn how to do something. I'm sharing the ways that worked out best for me and that I notice work out best for most people. You might find that another technique might work out good for you. And if that's the case, that's fantastic. Do whatever works for you, I say. And there's no shame in going out there and checking out other YouTube channels and finding out how to do this stuff as well. So go nuts. I'm here just supporting you no matter how you have to learn how to do this stuff. I'm rooting you on. Anyways, I kind of have a backwards approach to learning this. I like to encourage people to learn how to balance it on the inside of their elbow first, just like that. I think the advantage of learning how to balance it on the inside of your elbow is you're taking the inside of your elbow and turning it into something we call a point of control. Contact juggling is no more than rolling from one point of control, the back of the hand, to another point of control, to the front of the hand. And if you bounce back and forth between the 2 points, you have what they call the butterfly. If you check out my playlist section on my channel, you'll find that is the first video on my contact juggling tutorials, and it's also one of the first videos in my Circus and Flow Arts Basics playlist. Anyways, let's get back to it. Put that on the inside of your elbow just like this, and keep your arm extended. You'll find that you have to keep your arm extended in front of you in order to balance there. If you have it too low, it's not going to balance as easy. If you have it too high, it's going to roll back towards you. So make sure your arm is nice and flat with the horizon. Place the ball right there, and just get comfortable holding it there. Now once you get sick of just holding it there and being comfortable holding it there, what you're going to want to do is move forward ever so slightly and pull your arm out from underneath it, allowing the ball to roll down your forearm and into your palm like this. I'll show you from this angle. Forward and back. I'll show you from this angle. Forward and back. Pretty neat, huh? So the idea is we want to try to keep the ball in one spot. It's easier to move underneath the ball like this than it is to roll the ball forward and backwards with a straight arm like this. Both have their merits and both have their uses when you're performing contact juggling. But in order to get used to the palm to the inside of the elbow point of controls and that transition between the two, you're going to want to get as much practice as you can rolling between the 2 points. So that's why I recommend starting at the goal and where you want to go to and working backwards. Does that make sense? I hope so. The other way you can go about doing this is starting in your palm and just allow it to roll back and then catch it like this. You can pick your dominant hand or your off hand. Just pick one arm or the other and focus on that for the time being. If you find yourself getting a little frustrated with one arm, maybe try the other arm. You might find out the other arm's a little easier. If the other arm doesn't work, go back to the original one and just keep chugging away. So we'll take that ball and we're going to focus on just allowing it to roll towards us with this hand ready to catch it. It's probably preferred that it lands on the inside of your elbow as opposed to the outside because it's the side your hand's on ready to catch it, right? But sometimes it might not work out that way and roll off that way. But that, once again, is why we are practicing on the floor. I'm up here for the camera angle, don't worry about me. As I said earlier, we want to make every single attempt into an experiment and watch how the ball behaves on its own and then make small adjustments. So I'm going to allow that ball to roll towards me and we'll see what happens. Well, when I did it that time, it rolled right off near my wrist. I want it to go a little bit further down my arm with each attempt until we eventually get it to the point where it rolls right up along the bicep. And in that event, what we want to try focusing on doing is straightening out the arm like this so we can achieve a stall. And just keep doing that until you can find a way to get that ball to stay in the one spot. And I might be doing this a little bit too quick. You want to make each attempt into an experiment. I take for granted I know what I'm doing because I've been doing this stuff for like 20 years. Take the ball, put it on your hand, and allow it to roll. It might not roll the way you want it to, and that's okay. Put the ball back in your palm. Make a slight adjustment. Maybe you have to twist your arm ever so slightly in a different way and watch how it wants to behave in that event. Okay, it rolled off the other side. So I might want to twist back just a little bit more and we might get to a sweet spot. So if it rolls down and hits your bicep, that's exactly what we want. Now what we want to do is slow down the rate or the speed at which it's rolling up the arm and extend the arm and try to catch it in that point of control just like that. So that's what it comes down to, is trial and error, making those attempts, making mistakes, learning from the mistakes, and making micro adjustments until you get to exactly what you want the ball to do. Another approach that seems to work good for some folks, instead of extending your arm out and starting from this point and rolling back and forth like this, or doing the second method we just did where it rolls down like this over and over, is starting down lower, putting your elbow close to your torso, and you're going to use the twist method like this. So you let that ball roll close down towards you and you'll twist, and you'll let it roll towards your elbow and back down, and you'll twist in order to make sure it stays on there. I don't really recommend this method all that much, but I noticed that it did help some people learn how to do arm rolls a little bit easier for them. Personally, I feel if you rely on keeping your elbows too close to your torso and twisting like this, it limits you. You want to be able to learn how to move your elbows up and out when you're doing your arm rolls so you have a more dynamic, free range of motion when you're doing your contact juggling practice. So that's why I stand by my theory of starting with the ball on the inside of the elbow point of control and working backwards from there. This is the spot. Get used to this spot and it becomes a lot easier for you to roll it from the palm to the inside of the elbow. So far we've covered the inside of the forearm. Now we want to work on the back of the forearm. The back of the forearm can be a little bit more tricky. I personally rely on the inside of the elbow stall point most of the time when it comes to arm rolls, but there's a lot of contact jugglers out there that are really good at this stall point right here, which I admit I have not dialed it in all of my 24 years of practicing this stuff. I think I should probably get better with this stall point because you'll see some amazing contact jugglers that can throw it from one side and catch the other side, which I obviously don't have that perfected. Working on it, sometimes I land it, usually I don't. But this is a stall point that might work out good for you back home. So if this is a stall point you want to work with, all you have to do now is move from this point out to the cradle on the back of the hand. So if you can move from the cradle on the back of the hand to the outside elbow, you wouldn't believe how many times I dropped it before I finally got it while making this video. I'm learning new things here too, folks. So now if you get used to traveling between this point and that point back and forth, you get used to traveling between those 2 points, you'll become a more accomplished contact juggler. The more points of control you can collect in your contact juggling practice, And the more comfortable you can get between moving from one of those points of control to the next, the more dynamic your flow, the more beautiful your art, and the more well-rounded, get it? More well-rounded of a contact juggler you'll become. So when it comes to learning the back of the forearms, I would recommend putting the ball in the back of the cradle and pushing your arm out until you can get it to the inside of the elbow stall, and then transfer it to the back of the other hand's cradle. Then push out and catch. Push out and catch. Push out and catch. And you'll notice if you keep doing this, you'll find one pathway that you can rely on each time to keep the ball more or less in one spot. I've noticed it's very difficult to try to maintain an isolation. Oh yeah, isolations are when you use motion to create an illusion of stillness. They're a lot of fun to perform, and you can learn how to do all these different isolations if you go to my playlist section here in my channel and click on the playlist for Circus and Flow Arts Basics, or on my contact juggling tutorials. Anyways, we're here for arm rolls. So you can achieve an isolation with your arm rolls if you do continuous, repetitious movements of the back of the hands, or of the front of the hands, or like I like to do at the beginning of this video, is weave between them. Back, back, front, front, back, back, front, front, back, back, front, front. Or just back, backs. I just like switching up back to back to front to front whenever I'm doing my warm-ups before I start doing a contact juggling performance. Anyways, I think I might be really good at complicating something that's relatively simple, or simplifying something that's relatively complex. I don't know. I'm just talking your ear off, hoping that some of this stuff is helpful for you in learning how to do your arm rolls and learning how to contact juggle back at home. So on that note, thanks very much for watching my tutorial here today on arm rolls. I appreciate it very much, and I hope that you check out the rest of my contact juggling tutorials on my playlist section here on my channel. You click on the playlist link and you go down and you'll find contact juggling tutorials link. Click on that and you can take your pick on all the different techniques you can learn with the art of contact juggling. You'll also notice that I have a Circus and Flow Arts Basics playlist, which includes my contact juggling tutorials as well as a number of other circus and flow arts. So if you learned something new in this video, or you like me enough, maybe give me a thumbs up. It helps me out quite a bit. And maybe consider dropping a comment down below. Those are also very helpful, especially if you can leave me a comment that shares your opinions on what I could do to make these tutorials better and easier for you to learn. I've already told myself once I get a new studio, I'm going to redo all these videos with several different camera angles and perfect all my mistakes that I made with these. So I need you, the viewers back at home, to help me make better quality content for you in the future by giving me some honest feedback. Anyways, once again, folks, thanks very much for watching. I appreciate you very much. And please remember to never give up. Do your best. Stay true to you. And as always, folks, be amazing. Thanks very much for watching, and good night.